Hey Facebook world, it's your roving realtor, bon vivant, home chef, BMW enthusiast, cigar smoker. Give me some Lagavulin 16. I'm here at Inglenook, my favorite vlogging site. And who is this masked woman? It is Beth Painter, land use expert on the Napa Planning Commission and running for District 2 City Council seat November 3rd. Hi, Beth.
Hi, John. Good to see you.
Very good. Are you going to let us see your face?
I will. I just wanted to start out. John and I are outside here at Inglenook. Everybody takes every precaution they can. John is quite a bit away from me, so I'll take my mask off, but I got it here in case we got folks who come by. So good to see you.
Very good. Yes, I am, as usual, the disembodied voice behind the camera. I kind of like it that way. You know, part of the problem with Facebook Live is I have to use the native camera. Please, anybody out there, tell me I'm wrong. I have a mixed cam where I can activate both cameras, but not on a Facebook Live. So anyway, today we are at Inglenook, and let's see if I can get this in the camera. There we go. There we go.
You got it?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for... Look, you're just like Vanna White. We're drinking a demi of the 2013 Cabernet Sauvignon. So, Beth, let's get right to it. Let's talk about the Napa City Council race for District 2 and whatever nexus there may be in your experience as a planner on the Planning Commission, and go think about it. Wow, you're actually a professional planner. That's got to come in handy on the City Council.
Sure.
So
well,
tell us a little bit about
John.
that.
So I'll start with one step back, which is actually that for the first time, Napa is running City Council elections by district. So mayors will be voted at large by everybody within the city, but council members, the 4 other council members, are voted by district. And every 2 years, 2 districts will be on the ballot. This year it's District 2 and District 4. So I am in District 2, which is essentially west of Highway 29, south of Redwood Road, Browns Valley area, Westwood area, that section of town is
That's
District
right. You
2.
can get good beef over at
Browns Valley.
Browns Valley Market. That's
bet.
an old school grocery store. I love that place.
Yeah, fabulous. So my background is in land use, as you mentioned. I started working in the field in 1984. I spent about 9 years working in county government. I worked in Santa Cruz County and Ventura County. My husband Brooks and I moved to Napa in 1995, and at that point I made the conscious decision to say, you know, I'm interested in trying work in the private sector. I was very interested in working collaboratively with folks in the development world, and so in 1995 I started working, first worked for several years for an engineering firm, worked for a law firm for a few years. In 2002 started my own small business, which I called Balanced Planning. You can put 2 and 2 together where I got that name. It's my initials. But really the name of my company and my approach to planning has always been from a balanced perspective. I really try to look for creating, first of all, a collaborative work environment where you understand the regulations, you understand the environment, you understand what a landowner might be trying to achieve, and you bring those together to create something that's positive in all fronts.
So let's talk about your priorities as a planner, as a planning professional, and as a potential city council person. How would you characterize the most important planning issues that are facing the city, and how would you approach them?
Sure. So I'm going to set aside the discussion about where we are today and COVID and budgets, because really that is our biggest priority right now. But housing is a crisis in California. It's a crisis in many parts of the country that are similar to Napa. And so one of my initial and highest priorities was to not only look at how we plan for housing, but how do we get housing built. There are hurdles and obstacles to trying to get some really affordable projects. And when I say affordable, I mean not necessarily deed restricted affordable, but affordable by design, affordable to
not expensive.
Workforce, not expensive.
Yeah.
And so I've worked on a number of projects. I'm now in my 5.5 years into planning commission, so we've reviewed and looked at many projects, some of which never come out of the ground because they just, for whatever reason, the economics didn't work out. So I'm really interested in looking at how we design housing so that housing can be more affordable, can go to construction, and can be available for Napa residents.
Okay, very good. Now, I noticed in Berkeley and a couple of other places, there's been moves to make all-electric housing and ban PG&E. And if I understand it correctly, the United States is very abundant with natural gas, and we all know the travails that PG&E have had with electricity and electrical cutoffs and wildfires. Can you help us reconcile that dichotomy?
So what I would say is there's two things to talk about there, one of which may be PG&E and what's happening, but really the other issue is climate resiliency, right? And to try to look at how we build efficiently. And so I think as we move towards housing, we need to look at how do we do it, like I said, so that it can get built and it's economical, but how do we do it so that we're building for the next century, not the last century? And a part of that is going to include things like all-electric grids, solar power, things that are really more efficient when you look at an electrical source.
Well, also, we have the Carneros Breeze. I live in Carneros down in the Napa Yacht Club, and that's always blowing.
Yep.
So is wind an issue? Is wind a possibility?
That's a good question. I grew up on the East Coast, and I know and have tracked a couple of projects out along the coast of Massachusetts where they've done some big wind energy farms. We see some big wind turbines when you head in certain parts of California. I haven't seen or heard of locations in Napa that are really desirable for the big wind turbines, but I think we have a huge potential when it comes to solar.
Yeah, well, we can feel the Carneros Breeze right here.
Yeah, and I can feel the sun.
That's a beautiful spot, isn't it?
It's a great spot.
Do you like your view of the pond in the back?
Yeah. And the trees are beautiful, and the shade is beautiful.
Yeah, I think your lighting is good here, too.
The history of this property is really amazing.
Yeah, Gustav Niebaum purchased it in 1879, came out with his first vintage 1882. The chateau, which is behind you, over your left shoulder, went into operation in 1887. And I am here more than every other venue in the world combined, except my house, Porto Pinto. I'm here all the time. So I have a question. As a real estate broker, occasionally I do leasing on rental properties, and I notice in Napa, a lot of chefs, chef de cuisine, bartenders, servers. I mean, they're working long hours. They just need a place to drop their heads. They don't need to pay expensive rent. Are micro apartments an alternative for housing the workforce?
I think they're a great alternative. In fact, I've heard and talked with folks about some that are just sort of in the works or being talked about. A couple of the issues that we have to try to resolve to get to that point is a micro unit should be a higher density, right? It's going to be several stories.
And that is an issue under COVID-19.
It is, but the bigger issue is we need to make some changes to how we park vehicles, because if you require a parking space for every unit, it becomes very difficult to build those micro units in places that make the most sense, like closer to downtown, closer to some of the restaurants. So
maybe we could include electric trikes with each unit.
So I think really we need to look at the zoning and the downtown specific plan to look at how we can provide that micro housing and be more flexible on the parking.
Yeah, because for a lot of people out there, they're only home for 6-7 hours. They need to make themselves a little breakfast, a little dinner, lay their head someplace, have a bathroom. A Murphy bed would probably work. And I've always thought about that because, people are basically forced into the available inventory, which a lot of time is way too much,
That's
too
right.
expensive, too
That's
big.
Right. Well, I think it's, well, first of all, I moved to California in 1980 with a backpack and a bicycle. I didn't have a car. And I was shocked when I got here to find out that it's really tough to get around, the Bay Area unless you do have a car. But now we have shared vehicles. We have, other means of transportation. So I think there are ways to try to look at micro units, particularly for the workforce that you're talking about.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about climate change and as it may be affecting the grape growers and the winemakers. I'm not in that space. I'm just a beneficiary. I just drink the wine. But I'm sure you're probably looking at all that and taking that into consideration. Where are we now? Where are we going for the grape growers and the winemakers?
So my husband's in the wine business. He's been a winemaker for 40 years. I'm like you. I'm a consumer. I enjoy it. I'm not as professed in terms of all the specifics, but what I can tell you is that, the science is real, the climate is changing. We may look at some different varietals. I tend to think that Napa and the Napa Valley will always be a grape growing region. We may need to look at some alternatives. But we also need to look at how we're farming the land and how we're participating in a positive way. One of my great interests is in serving on the Napa Resource Conservation District Board. I've been on that board for 13 years. And it started out working with growers on things like erosion control and how to plant cover crops in your vineyard, which is now a pretty standard practice in the valley. Well, what we're going to now is trying to learn more about carbon farming, where how do you build resiliency into a vineyard to be more of an active participant in climate resiliency based on how you farm, how you plant, how you use water. So all of those programs, I think, are really critical in looking at climate change in vineyards.
Very good. I think it's good for an extra 2 or 3 points on the vote if you drink some of your Cabernet Sauvignon to support the local vintners.
Okay, thank you.
So if and when you get elected to the district to city council seat, what will some of your priorities be in terms of time-specific, quantifiable outcomes that you're looking to create and get passed by the city council?
So first is the city's budget, right? I think that's, if you want to talk about quantifiable and achievable, I've looked at and studied what was the 2-year budget that has now been modified in June of this year to the 2020-2021 fiscal year. The city had to look at about a $20 million shortfall in revenues. So I think it's really important that one of our first achievable goals is looking at stability in the budget in terms of revenues and expenses. I look at that as a 1 to 2 year horizon. My hope is, I think it will take us time to get back to where we were pre-COVID. But I'm hoping that a 2-year horizon might be a reasonable expectation on that front. The second would be how we're developing our general plan, which, as a planner, I could sit here and talk the rest of the time with you about general plans, but the general plan is essentially like the Constitution. It's our roadmap for how what is our vision for what the community will be, and we're in the we have already begun that process of updating our general plan to 2040. So an outcome would be that we have a general plan approved within, it's probably going to be another year and a half, but that plan is not only a vision for our future, but it has an implementation plan that is achievable. Because I've looked at plenty of general plans all over the state of California, and I tend to believe that policy is only as good as your ability to act upon it. So, we want to have actionable items that are achievable and move us in the direction of where we want to go.
Very good, very good. Now, if someone wants to plant Beth Painter for city council lawn sign, somebody wants to get your posts and repurpose them on social media, make contributions, etc. where is the best place for them to contact you in the campaign?
Such a good question. Thank you. So I do have a webpage, bethpainter.com, easy to remember. We do have lawn signs available. I'm happy to deliver them myself or my husband. We've got a couple of other volunteers who are assisting with that.
There you go. My wife is looking to deliver her husband too. Yeah, we've been married for 47 years.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
She might be getting a little tired by now.
And you can contact me through the webpage is probably the best way to do it.
And
I
that's
would really welcome that.
bethpainter.com.
Bethpainter.com.
I like your colors. They're very Amalfi Coast.
Thank you. I was going to bring a lawn sign, but I left it in the car.
What yellow are you using? Do you have any idea what yellow that is?
It's bright.
It's a bright
yellow.
It's very Provence, very Amalfi Coast.
I wanted to go with, when in developing it, we kind of had some fun with the painter theme.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, the stroke.
Yeah. So,
it's a stroke of genius.
Thank you.
That's right. I might have asked my question, what do you have in store for your District 2 palette? Right.
Yeah.
Very good. So I understand that you are from Massachusetts.
Correct.
What burg?
So I grew up in western Massachusetts, Northampton, along the Connecticut River. Smith College, home to Smith College.
Oh, Smith College,
near Amherst, which is home to Amherst College, UMass, Hampshire. It's kind of called the Five College area.
Oh, yeah.
Very rural for New England. So in that sense, some similarities where you're in a rural environment, but you're an hour and a half from a major metropolitan area.
Now, which way I go on your campaign could depend on the answer to this question. Are you a Red Sox fan or a Yankees fan?
My answer to that is I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, you're a Giants. Oh, that's very political of you.
Yeah.
I understand.
But I will say, as a kid, I have really great memories of going to Fenway Park on Patriots Day.
Yeah.
Which was really, really special. So I have some really fond memories of the Red Sox.
I've been to Fenway Park once. Boy, that place is kind of like a big bar.
Tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah. It's like a big Friday night party.
Yeah.
It was fun. I used to follow all the Boston teams. I'm more of a Mets, Knicks, Jets fan.
Okay.
I'm even an outcast in New York where more people are Giants and Yankees and Islander fans. I like the Rangers too. So where'd you go to college?
So I went to Tufts, which is outside Boston.
Oh, yeah.
My dad went to Tufts Dental. My older brother went to Tufts as an undergrad. My younger brother went to Tufts not only for undergrad, but then medical school. So we've, it's in the family.
Oh, good. And when did you move to California?
1980.
And that was where?
I moved to San Francisco. And this is pre-computers, how you look at jobs. My best friend lived in San Francisco, and I saw a job posting with the U.S. Geological Survey, and I said, I just graduated with a degree in neuroscience. I'm going to go to California and see what I can do. So I literally showed up on his door and said, I found your notice for a job. And he had never hired a woman. This was 1980. Never hired a woman. I don't think he could say no to me because I said, listen, I came from Massachusetts to seek out this position. And so I spent 4 years with the USGS, which was really exciting.
Yeah. Are you familiar with that super volcano in Yellowstone?
No, I've been to Yellowstone, but I don't know
there's a caldera there that's still active, that's 60 miles long and 35 miles wide. And they actually found a multitude of carcasses in Nebraska from an eruption that took place there about 10,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And they couldn't understand why all these young animals died, but then they saw there was a respiratory issue, and they were speculating that it blew. And I have a particular interest in volcanoes because my entire family on my father's side lives a stone throw. Some of them are on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius.
Oh, we visited Mount Vesuvius. It's a powerful place.
Are you a volcanist, I guess is the word?
No, that's not really what I studied, but Mount St. Helens did erupt the month I graduated college, so
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. No, I focused more on what's called geomorphology, which is a study of how the surface of the earth changes, whether it's along a coastline or rivers, through erosion, through sedimentation. So my interest was in looking at sort of that intersection between the natural world or physical world and land use.
Oh, I'm afraid to ask you this question, but both my brother and I are, my sister-in-law and my wife, we live in the Napa Yacht Club. Now, I've been through a lot of heavy rains, flooding, and we always seem to be plenty high in the Napa Yacht Club. And I'm not talking about being hippies in the 60s. The water level. I'm talking about the water
Right.
level.
You haven't been flooded.
We haven't. Yeah. Should we be concerned?
I think ultimately, maybe in the future it might be a concern. I wouldn't worry about it today. You're not within, that complex was built outside of the floodplain, so those numbers were taken into account. With sea level rise, another 50 years, we'll see.
Yeah, 50 years. I'll be happy even if I'm in the middle of a flood in 50 years.
There you go.
Since I'm a baby boomer.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, despite my youthful appearance, I'm going to be 69 in October. Very good. Okay, good. Well, Beth, is there anything else that you would like our viewing Facebook Live audience to know before we fully engage in this 2013 Cabernet Sauvignon from Inglenook?
Well, I think what I would close with is that I really feel that I've come to this moment to run for city council based on my professional life, my personal life, and I would be honored to serve on city council. I would also ask that if anybody's interested in learning more, that they please reach out to me. I'd love to chat with anybody. In this day and age, it's difficult. So whether we do it by Zoom call or a phone call, I'd like to be available, and I really would appreciate the support of voters in District 2.
Very good. Well, I look forward to planting my sign.
Okay.
And doing some Zooms. And, I never need much of an excuse to come to Inglenook and drink some of the Cabernet Sauvignon. But I think we might want to do a couple of more Facebook Lives, and we can do Facebook Lives on particular issues maybe that
Great.
you'd like to address.
Sure.
So all, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you soon. And do remember, in addition to being a video blogger, I am an active realtor, so if you're looking to exchange, buy, sell any Bay Area real estate, give me a call. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Wear your mask.